Channel update time. I'm still alive. And so are you if you're still watching. Y'all probably saw, got into a car wreck. Yeah, it's been like about 6 weeks ago at this point. And it's been not necessarily a long recovery, but kind of a difficult recovery. I'm really sore today. I went to work out physical therapy style stuff, and they had me do assisted pull-ups. I think that's what it is. And yeah, all the rib pain has come back. So if I give a little like here and there, don't worry about me. I'm just fine. I'm just feeling rather alive is all that it is. So what have I been doing? I've been spending a lot of time recovering. My sleep schedule got completely knocked out of the park, I guess. Couldn't sleep a lot, and then would have to nap during the afternoon to try to at least get, some like 6 hours of sleep. There was a lot of times where I was getting maybe 5 hours tops, which isn't bad for a day, but it's definitely not where I like to be. That 7 to 8 hour is that's just right for me. So went through a month of that, and it kind of beats on the body having sleep deprivation. And now I'm trying to get back to work, trying to get back in the groove of things, and trying to get the YouTube running again, which we haven't been shooting the YouTube videos for, it's basically, other than a couple of videos that we did, it's basically been 5 weeks. So we're gonna slowly pick back up into that. We're gonna see what we can do to figure out where I am in here. I've lost track of where everything is. Lost my business phone in the process because I wasn't using it every day. Took some time off from posting on Instagram and Facebook, which, it's been great having no social media interaction pretty much. Honestly, I was on the Twitters. I deleted that completely. Just got everything out of my life that wasn't necessary. And yeah, it's been kind of nice, to tell you the truth. So what have I been working on? Let's just start with Holmes Hobbies. Once I was at the point that I could stare at a screen without getting headaches, which it's been maybe 2 weeks at this point, I started designing some stuff. And I really, really wish that I could tell you what I was designing. It's going to be awesome. It's been a long-term project, but we really just started getting really good traction here recently. And I'm just plugging away while I'm in the groove of it. Usually what I'll do is I'll make multiple variations of a product, and then I'll be able to sit on those designs for anywhere from months to years, depending on what it is. So on this one, yeah, I'm just banging them out right now, just getting them done. So I can do that about 3 months out of the year, and then I can have between 1 and 2 years of product releases because I'm pretty efficient at designing. Since I know how to design for manufacture in particular, my previous experience being a machinist for a while, it makes it to where I understand tolerances and all those fun things. If you know how something is going to be machined in either a lathe or a mill, then you can design it for that particular thing, and it works out better in the long run. So when I design something, I can pretty much nail all the tolerances and all the design for manufacture aspects just when I do it, and it makes it much easier long term. There's really no back and forth with factories if I use factories for the assembly and the manufacturing parts of it. So yeah, that's what I've been doing, and I really, really wish that I could tell you about it. We do have some new products upcoming that are going to be a sooner release as well. I'm not going to tell you what those are either, but they're going to be pretty sweet as well. Let's see, on the personal side, just been trying to recover, trying to sleep enough, just trying to figure out my life in general, because it just knocked my schedule for a loop. So kind of getting back in the swing of things here. This video is essentially the start of restarting all of that, restarting the YouTube channel, restarting my normal weekly. I have kind of like a weekly churn that I do, to where there's certain things that I do on certain days, and then we just restart and we do that again. So filming for me would be typically Tuesday, Thursday. Today it's Friday because it's the first day that we really had to restart. So yeah, let's talk about personal life. It's spring upcoming, at least it's springtime, gonna be soon, and I'm really looking forward to all the gardening. I have been doing gardening, putting in plants right now. It's a good time for moving trees in particular. I have 6 new, what are they, peaches. I got some peach trees, which evidently there's peaches that are good in Missouri climate. I think we are zone 6 here, if I remember correctly. It's either 5.5 or 6, right in there. So I found some hardier peach trees. We got those in the backyard of Pennant right now, the house that's behind. We'll call it Hobby House number 2. So I've got a little garden bed that I created. It's like a short-term storage bed, essentially, where the deer can't get it in and out easily. I can just stick them in there. The soil has been very loose. I put a bunch of potting soil in with it as well, so that I can just kind of pull these things out and replant them pretty much in the next couple of days, as long as we're not too waterlogged, because we're turning from that weather where it's cold and rainy in like the 40-50 degree days, and then we're going to start having warm days, and all the trees are going to start budding out, and I really have to like grab that little time frame. Hobby house is going to be pushed down, we're estimating, in about 3 months or so, after we get the Hobby House number 2 finished, which we'll do a video update on that. Then I will put in the permit to get this place torn down. It also turns out, really interesting point, that the city will bury my power and utilities to this place if I tear down this house. And I was getting, bids for that kind of stuff, and it's like $10,000 to get my utilities buried, just because the people who are going to do it are, high on the hourly. You got to rent or buy a machine as a trencher, and then there's, a conduit, everything. It ends up being about $8,000 to $10,000. So they essentially said, if you tear it down, we will trench for you. You get your utility companies in here besides the power. You get your other, your internet and stuff like that in here. They will throw their own situation into the trench, have a line where they can pull later. And then we can also rebury the line going out to my shed, because I wanted to have power out in the shed. And my initial thought was, well, we'll just pull power from the pole to the shed, and then we'll have the utility box, or whatever you want to call it, on the actual shed, and then we'll pull from here. And that way we're going to avoid like 180 feet of extra wire. And the city was like, no, you got to have your meter on the main building, which I read all the code, and I didn't exactly argue with them, but I pointed out that the code specified that the meter couldn't service multiple residential places on the location, and it didn't say where that meter needed to be. So I was like, okay, well, it's not a multiple residential location. This is R1 zoning. My shed is going to be a shed. I'm not going to be living out there. So, it would be just fine out there, technically, by your rules. And they were like, no, just as a standard, we like to have it on the main building. I was like, okay, fine. But can you help me rebury the power out there? Because I would hate having the trench dug and then have to redo it later. They're like, oh yeah, no big deal. Essentially, you'll have to line up the contractors for it or whatever. So I'll get some more 3-inch PVC, and I'll figure that out myself. They may want somebody with a licensed electrician degree. Yeah, we'll see about that. So moving along slowly with it, we've got Pennant going along. This house is I wouldn't say stagnant, but that's what it smells like in this old house here. 1930s catalog home. The Bitcoin heaters have been doing fantastic. I could never really get this place warm just because of the draftiness in the floors. And to tell you the truth, when it gets really cold outside, this winter wasn't really that bad, but the floors in here wouldn't heat up. If it's like a lucky day, it'd be like 55-degree floors. And on most days when it's cold outside, it'd be like 45-degree floors in here, and it is absolutely miserable. But with the Bitcoin heaters, they have been throwing out so much heat. I've just got 2 of them, basically running about 1,600 watts total, that we come in here, I could probably check. It's been hanging out at like 75, which for most people is almost on the uncomfortable realm. I just deal with it. I mean, I'm in here by myself, so normally I just take my shirt off and everything is cool. So that's actually been really nice, that constant heat, instead of having the HVAC cycling by itself, which I still have it set for, like 64 or whatever. But anytime that it gets semi-warm outside, those Bitcoin heaters have just been picking up the slack. So really cool experiment. It has worked out extremely well this year. Our shop has been warm for the first time ever. The shop floor there has been, it would never get over 55 degrees in the winter. It didn't matter how high we set our HVAC system. And it's been hanging out at a pretty consistent 70 degrees on that concrete pad. So even if we turn them off for a short period of time, if it gets too hot, it's been doing great. And it just really holds that warmth in there. And of course we have insulated floors and walls and ceiling, because it used to be a meat packing facility. So, one of the rooms was a freezer room, one of the rooms was a refrigerator room, and they have everything very well insulated. So it's it's been great, honestly. I'm not going back to normal HVAC systems other than emergency heat. Yeah, great to have that. But I'm going to use Bitcoin heaters combined with heat pumps. So your normal, what would you call it, like a mini split these days? It's your AC in the summertime, and in the wintertime, you just run it backwards, essentially. And until it gets too cold, they will pump a decent amount of heat. A lot of times you can get... I did the research, I've kind of forgotten right now, but it's about a 30-degree delta. So if it's outside and it's 30 degrees outside, you could easily get like 60 degrees Fahrenheit on your inside. Some of them will go up to 35, even some larger ones now will do like 45-degree deltas, but they're not nearly as efficient as a smaller unit that has about a 30-degree delta. So just something to keep in mind if you're looking to change your utilities in the future and you want the most cost effectiveness combined with the best efficiency, you would have that heat pump system and then supplement with something, whether it be gas, whether it be electric, whether it be Bitcoin heaters, whatever it is. It's a really effective system. And what I'm going to do on the rebuild of this house is the Bitcoin heaters are going to be driving an in-floor radiant system. And so the entire house is really going to warm up, and we're probably not, there's not going to be any cycling to the Bitcoin heaters. They'll just turn on, and then when we get to a point to where we get past the frost-free date, let's say, it's actually cheaper because of, at least on the newer, more efficient machines at the shop with low electricity rates, it's cheaper to use the heat pump to cool the place down than it is to unplug the Bitcoin heaters. Because the Bitcoin heaters are actually giving money back. So just something to keep in mind. The experiment for this winter has worked extremely well, better than I thought that it would. And we have been warm and toasty in the shop. I've been warm and toasty in the hobby house. My shop at the house has actually been doing extremely well as, normally that's a really cold room in the wintertime, and it's been holding at a 60 degrees or so. It's not bad. It's not great for having like root vegetables stored over the winter, which I found out they all decided they were going to grow midway through the winter. Had to deal with that. But otherwise, there we go. That's what's been going on in my life. Let's see, we talked about Holmes Hobbies. We talked about picking back up YouTube. We talked about my life. And yeah, ooh. I want to talk about these Nip-X pliers. We'll do a new video about those actually, but needless to say, these little Nip-X pliers have found a place in my pocket next to a pocket knife, and I love them. So stay tuned for a future video on that. We're gonna get back into the swing of things, and I hope that you have a great day, and thanks for tuning in.